This is a Moxon style vise that I did the model for and plans for a fellow who designed it. And after I showed the plans, I had questions about how I cut the bevel here with the lamb's tongues. Tim and I have both shown methods for cutting this sort of thing that involve modeling a shape that cuts through and then using intersect faces. I'm going to show a little different method this time that I think probably is actually easier than that other way that we've done in the past. Let's go back in time here. So here's the chop without the lamb's tongue, and we'll zoom in here, and I'm going to set out some guidelines. You could do this freehand if you want, but I'm going to just set out some guidelines to show me where I want to go with the SEMA curve that I need to draw. And so there, that should do what I want. And this thing is a component already. I'm drawing outside of the component, and then I'm going to transfer my geometry inside. So it's sort of like drawing with a pencil on your board before you commit to cutting. And I'm going to use the classic Bezier curve from Fred 06's Bezier spline extension. I'm going to set the first end, the second end, and then I'm going to put one point here and one point on that point right there, and double click to set that one. The neat thing with this extension is that this will allow you to modify the curve if you want, so you can do whatever you want to do with it to create a different shape. I'm actually going to delete that one and just draw it again. So one here, one there, point there, double click to set the last point. Of course, you could keep going and add even more points, and actually that one, I'm going to put it on that intersection. Alright, so now I've got the first curve, and I need to have a matching one at the other end. I could lay this all out and draw it again, but instead I'm going to use the rotate tool, and I'm going to find the midpoint on the chop. I'm going to hit Control, that'd be Option on the Mac, to create a copy, and then I'll click there, click here, and now I've got that curve on the other end, and I'm going to draw a line with the line tool in between, and then I'm going to select those. I need the same curves on the front, and this time what I'll do is I'm going to set up the rotate tool so it's aligned with the red axis in this case, and I did that by clicking and holding and dragging along the edge. You could also hit the right cursor key, and I need to copy that. And so what I want to do is I want to just bring my cursor to some place on the face, some edge. Doesn't really matter where, but I need to get that 90 degrees. And then I've got all the geometry laid out for my curve, so I'm going to select all of that. I'll do this from the menu. Edit, Cut. I would normally use keyboard shortcut for that. Then I'm going to open the component for editing, double click with the select tool, and then edit, paste in place. Again, a keyboard shortcut would normally be employed here. And then I'm going to delete that edge, and so of course we can see inside. To create the bevel, I'm just going to use the line tool, and then I'm going to use another one of Fredo's extensions called Curvyloft, and I'll have the links to these in the blog post. And I'm going to use skin contours. And there's a variety of settings here for this one because the curve's pretty simple. We really don't need to do anything other than just click. Now this one, the face is reversed, or the faces that result are reversed. We'll deal with that in a minute. You don't want to leave reverse faces exposed. Do the same thing on this side. That one is correctly oriented. Now when this extension runs, it creates groups, and I don't want those here. I want this geometry to be part of the geometry for the rest of the chop. So I'm going to right click on those and choose explode, and then I'll just right click on this surface over here and reverse the faces, and the chop is complete. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check over here to see that Entity Info reports that as a solid component. Solid, it's not incredibly important, but a solid component tends to be easier to edit and work with in general if you need to make changes later. So it's always a good idea to create a solid component if you can. Get rid of my guidelines, and there's the chop complete. And so now we can see that this is still needs to have the texture added to it, but that'll be easily done at a later point. Anyway, I hope there's a few little tidbits in there that can help you out.